All right, welcome friends. My name is Brian Benson, founder of InspireLink, and today we're very, very excited. We have Zach Smith with us. He is from Funded Today, the world's most successful crowdfunding marketing agency. They've done over $100 million, raising over $100 million for crowdfunding. I think you're still number one for Indiegogo traffic, and I think you're number 3 under like Google and YouTube for traffic to Kickstarter. So you're a beast, and what you do is amazing, and we're really excited to have you. So thank you, Zach, for being here.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome, man. So let's just get right into this. This comes from the actual students. A lot of them even ask some of these questions that I'm giving to you, so it's really exciting. Number one is, starting out, how big was the Funded Today team, and what skill sets were crucial in your success?
Funded Today was just me. I was actually one of my first ventures I ever did was started when I was in college. And that venture led to me, long story short, led to me becoming a consultant. And basically I built a practice just like somebody who's an attorney builds a practice or an accountant builds a practice. My degree was in accounting and business. And so I didn't even do anything with accounting and business, but that was my degree. And so I established it that way with retainers and hourly fees and things like that. And I built up a pretty good practice. One of my clients said, "Hey, I don't like this retainer thing." Who likes retainers, really? They're terrible. I hate everything about them, but I used to do them because that was the nature of the beast. And they said, "How about we give you something called crowdfunding, and we pay you on performance? So if you make us $100,000, we'll pay you X versus making $200 an hour or something like you would on retainer." And I said, "All right." I was in a good financial position at that time because one of my first businesses sold, and I said, "Okay, let's do it." I hadn't even heard of crowdfunding, but I was skilled at marketing. I had probably 6 or 7 years of internet marketing, e-commerce marketing, and it was just me. I obviously brought a lot of people on board to help, so we filmed the video, designed the page, and launched this product, and within 30 days, this product raised $115,000. And it was exciting because this was a elderly couple, not terribly old, but probably in their 50s, 60s, and absolutely no clue how to do anything on the internet, and their product hadn't really ever sold a lot online. I think their best month was maybe a couple $1,000s on the internet, and now to raise $115,000 in 30 days, obviously my mind was opened, and I said, wow, the things that I did in my consulting practice had even greater effect and greater impact when it came to applying them to rewards-based crowdfunding on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And the team grew. From there, I brought Thomas Alvord on midway through that campaign. He helped out with a lot of the paid media side of things. I think we'd raised about $50,000-$60,000. Brought Thomas on, and together doubled that amount in, I think, only like the last 11 or 12 days. So that even added more value. And in terms of what skill sets were crucial to my success, obviously persistence, pivoting, because this whole story as we go along, I think there'll be a lot to talk about with pivoting. And pivoting, for those of you that don't know it, is basically just figuring out something, attacking that thing as much as you possibly can, and then when you notice things are changing, or if you get tired of it, really, even you want to keep doing what you love and you want to keep pursuing your passions, then you move on to another thing. And a lot of times the skill sets you learn along the way, a lot of people think, pivoting, running away from something. It's really not that way at all. Everything that you learn as you go about doing what you do translates very well into the next thing that you decide to do, for the most part. When I moved into rewards-based crowdfunding from e-commerce consulting, I was doing a lot of affiliate marketing, a lot of email marketing, a lot of email lead generation, and all that stuff. We do it Funded Today, and it works just as good, but it's a different, newer type of marketplace, and it performs even better than it did in some of the other industries I was in. And so I would say pivoting is huge. I would say staying on top of the market, paying attention to trends, communication too. Holy cow, especially with the internet. Nowadays, I hardly meet anybody face to face. We always have to stress communication at Funded Today, because if you say something to somebody, they can be offended, and it's like, shoot, why were they offended with that? So we have to work a ton on. 99% of what we do is internet-based, Skype conversations, email-based, and hardly any of our clients meet us face to face, and yet they're trusting us to raise millions of dollars for them every month. And so it's so important and critical even to make sure we're communicating very, very clearly what we're doing, how we're doing it. And even still, we have to improve. I got an email today from a client that feels like we haven't been communicating well. And I'm like, geez, we have tried so hard to communicate these last 3 years, and yet there's still more to learn. But instead of getting sad about it, I always take those opportunities as learning opportunities, and that's probably the last skill set. Never get discouraged, even though you will. So realize you're going to get discouraged. You're going to have days where you don't want to wake up. You're going to feel like you're depressed. Maybe you are depressed. Even me, like really successful, has many days where I'm like, gosh, another day, another grind, It's crazy. You wouldn't think it's that way, right? When you look at all those internet guys and driving their fancy cars, big houses, all that stuff, it's all legit and true, but there's also like the element behind it of extremely hard work, crazy dedication, sacrifice, patience, and just never giving up and realizing discouragement comes and fighting through that. When I get an email like that from a client, it makes me really sad, but the email that I wrote to the team was, hey guys, this hasn't happened in a while. I mean, literally, I think it's the first one we've received in a couple months where a client felt like we didn't do some things as good as we should have. And I said, rather than get mad about this, what can we do? He mentioned some good points here. They said something interesting here. I agree with them here. I notice how that's actually been slipping. And we had like a 5 or 10 minute brainstorm, and really good things have come of it. And I think this client's even going to be happy with our proposal going back. So always just take those things as learning opportunities, and don't think of people as attacking you. That's the other thing. It's so easy to think everybody's attacking you and mad at you. Really, what I like to do is I like to picture them like, oh, they're having a bad day, or oh, their dog died, or oh, this happened. And even if none of that's true, it helps me not get mad at the person and get mad at the problem, be able to fix what the issue might be.
Yeah, I love that mindset, man. That's awesome. I think that the whole that's a great entrepreneurial like mindset right there, though. I think that you have to have those types of that positive outlook, all the time. So let's talk about the campaigns and things. And how many campaigns have you failed before you actually had a system which led to your numerous successes?
So this is where you have to ask yourself about the whole adage. Luck is where preparation meets opportunity, or however that goes. With Funded Today, we were successful on the very first campaign. The Roosport 2.0 raised $115,000. After that, we did a Free Waves campaign that raised $325,000, and the list just goes on and on after that. Obviously, we have campaigns that we don't raise money for because we're internationally renowned. We have about 1,500 submissions a month of people that want to hire us. We obviously can't work with all of those. We work with only about 100 a month, and so many of those 100 don't succeed either, but we were successful from day one. In terms of being able to pick a campaign and figure out if it's going to raise money or not, we're pretty good about that. And we did not fail. We were successful from the moment we started. And really, I guess the best way to answer this question would be we've gotten better and better. Mm-hmm. When we started, it was me, and then I added Thomas. Now I think there's 50-something of us. Wow. And everybody's doing something that's better than I can do. I did cross collaborations. They're a way to line up. It's kind of like affiliate marketing. For those of you who aren't familiar with affiliate marketing, it's basically like finding somebody who has an influence and telling them, hey, I'll pay you for doing this for me, and I'll do this for you. And it's kind of like a you scratch my back, I scratch your back thing. Really, really simple if we want to like distill it down to its essence. But I did pretty good at that. Mm-hmm. That's all about hustle. That's all about networking. And now Funded Today has like 2,000 people in that network. And so when you like call upon that network, it can raise $100,000 in one day, So I could never do that before on my own. But Colton Bybee, who is our director of cross collaborations, has scaled that division exponentially and done an extremely good job at the communication side of things, at the building that network of people, and just really growing it. I mean, it never raises less than like $300,000 a month nowadays.
Man, that is such a smart business move, keeping the people who've been successful in the loop. And now you kind of have this network of people who invest in these types of things and have a huge influence and following. And, wow, that's really smart, man. That's awesome.
It's powerful. And that's kind of what we've done. To answer the question, another way, it wasn't so much that we ever failed. It was, hey, we did this pretty good. How can we do it better? Mm-hmm. And that's always what we're doing. I call it refining processes. And it's just, I do it myself. I figure out how to do it. I'm usually pretty dang good at doing most things, but I'm never the best. And then once I figure out how to do it, I tell people how I did it. And I said, do it this way. But if you could find a better way to do it that way too. And we've done that with every division. Skylar Hardman is way better than I'll ever be at doing paid media. And he's our manager of all things paid media. Colton Bybee's way better than I'll ever be at all things cross collaborations. Curtis Child is way better at influencer and network and outreaching and contacting potential clients for Funded today than I'll ever be. And I taught all these people, in essence, along with Thomas, and now they're way better than we'll ever be. And I think that's what you want in a good team. You want people that are better than you. Even if they're not better than you to start, if they work hard and they continually improve, I think you can build a great team around you. And it's like that with all 8 or 9 divisions that Funded today.
That's awesome, man. Let me ask you, though, when you are so successful right out of the gate, you're hitting huge goals, how do you mentally say, how can we be better when you're already like, we're killing it? I mean, why should, so how did that mindset play in, and how are you, That's a great question. I think it kind of goes to that discouragement, depression. I call it frustration. I don't feel like I'm ever depressed, but a frustration. You have to be frustrated. And some people are like, that could be micromanaging. I don't know if I'm going on a tangent here or not, but sometimes it might feel like micromanagement, but I think you have to be frustrated with a process. Just yesterday is a great example of this. I was working with our liaison specialist, and a liaison specialist is somebody who basically communicates with the client and then passes that information along to whoever in the division needs to address a question. And I noticed that in our contract, we have different options, and I noticed that our language wasn't quite right, and it was creating a little bit of confusion. And I noticed that confusion as I would scan through the inbox and see 3 or 4 people a week saying, hey, I thought it was this, but I heard it's this or something. And then I found the solution very quickly, and I said, hey, we need to fix this and this. I didn't even say exactly how to fix it. I just said, we need to fix this and this and this. And literally within a couple hours, our director of communications, who is also a liaison specialist, David Garber, put together a beautiful message that addressed the question, and I posted that to all of our managers. They're like, holy cow, that's beautiful, that's brilliant. I'm like, yeah, I didn't write it, I said it. It was David who did it, and he did a great job. And now there's literally no communicational miscues overnight because of that one little change. And I think that's the idea. Did I need to do that? Probably not. But because I did it, it refined a process and made it a little bit better. And everybody saw that it wasn't a waste of time. Maybe some people say, that's a micromanaging move, Zach, don't do that. But to me, I think by constantly caring about even the smallest minutia, that makes the little things never turn into the big things. And then when you do that, you can have a successful enterprise. And then it's also expanding. It's looking at what can go next. Mm-hmm. Down further along in this interview, we'll probably talk about things, but I immediately saw that there was opportunity right from the beginning to make videos. I mean, heck, the very first client we made a video for, we designed the page. Guess what? We didn't even do that ever again until about 9 months ago. And now that industry is doing about $200,000 a month. We call it our creative division. We're making videos, we're designing pages, we're providing consulting pre-launch. None of that even happened because at the time, we were still building out all of the initial systems to do what we needed to do. So I guess that could be an example of something that failed, but then we went back to it nearly 3 years later and made it happen. And now it's doing really well. So sometimes timing is the most important thing. And we looked at that and we said, we have all the pieces in place. We're raising millions of dollars. Why are we working with people right when they launch or once they're struggling? Why don't we get to them earlier in the funnel and add the element of pre-launch and video design and page creation, just like Zach did when he started this company? And sure enough, it worked. It didn't work the first time we thought about it, aside from the Ruse Sport campaign, because we never did it again and we tried and failed and it was just kind of nightmarish. But then we built the team around it, and Scott Weiser, who's our creative director, to his credit, has just absolutely crushed it in terms of systems and processes, as managed by me, to put a team in place to make it so that we make really good videos and raise a lot of money now. We've had a lot of videos raise over $300,000 in our short time, which is an extremely good success. That's like the top 0.1 percentile of all campaigns raised, and that's start to finish Funded today, all the way from napkin to 300,000 plus raised in 30 days or less. Wow. Unbelievable, man. That's a cool story, though. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's so, it's cool to hear, how that whole thing was built. But it's funny that you did it so early on, like first client, and then, didn't do it for a while.
Yeah.
But you know what? Video was not as popular then. I mean, I guess it was probably cutting edge at the time when you were doing it for these campaigns, and now you're just killing it, because it's almost everything at this point. So I think that's really interesting, the evolution of Funded today with that aspect. So let's talk about your website. Your website says your marketing system to be proprietary. What makes it so?
Well, I think a lot of what we do, somebody could say, oh, okay, I could do that. So the first question to answer is not necessarily a proprietary one, but it's there's a lot of stuff that goes into this engine now. And that's what Funded today is. There's just a lot of stuff involved. Could you do what we do? Yes, but It would take a lot of manpower, a lot of coordination, a lot of organization, probably years of connecting and building. And so there's that to start. That's not necessarily proprietary. That's just kind of is what it is. And then the brand name and the recognition and everything that we have. So that helps a lot. But the proprietary side of things deals more with how we go about doing money on our paid media side of things. We call it a trade secret. And basically what we do is we have lots of different audiences and lots of different systems that we use, styles of ad copy, styles of writing, ways we go about targeting. And to be quite honest, and maybe other agencies will disagree with me here, but I think the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, I don't say that to brag. I really like to talk about numbers. And as clear as the night is different than the day, Funded Today raises more money than almost every other agency combined. Literally, it's kind of that way. I know it sounds crazy, but I look at Google Analytics all the time, and I'm not going to call it any of our quote-unquote competitors on this interview, but it's kind of that way, just because they can't do what we do. And some of them are starting to learn. They're getting better, which is great. It's nice to have some competition because I think it makes us get better. We've had to do a lot of different things than we used to have to do. But we were the ones who invented it. We were the ones who invented this type of advertising, this type of strategy, at least as it relates to crowdfunding. And there were people way earlier than us. I think there was an agency 2.0 that was doing stuff before us. I think Command Partners and Ventus was doing stuff before us, but none of them were doing what we do as it relates to paid media in the way that we do it. Because if they did, they'd be us and we'd be them, and that's not the case. So we absolutely dominated it right from the get-go, and then we scaled it exponentially, and we just do it really, really aggressively.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I don't know if that answers the question about proprietary, but it definitely shows how we had that explosive growth where we weren't the first crowdfunding agency. I think that was agency 2.0, but we were absolutely the most explosive growth crowdfunding agency.
Yeah. No, I think that answers the question. I think it definitely shows how. Well, what's kind of neat is like when we first started this interview, you did talk about timing and things, and maybe it's like you were an outlier in the space, which is pretty cool. So
yeah, that might be it. It could just be timing, and social media was evolving at a perfect time for when we entered the market. There's a lot to be said about luck in business, but luck is where you're prepared and where you're seizing that opportunity and realizing opportunity for a pivot too. And you don't necessarily know, but you have an inkling, and you sometimes have to trust that inkling and let go of everything else. I mean, I gave up everything else I was doing, which was pretty successful. And it wasn't a quick give up. I went about it over the course of maybe 6 to 8 months, but ultimately I let go of everything else I was doing, which was already pretty successful compared to what most people would even consider a success. And now Funded Today is even bigger and better because of that. So
yeah. No, that's awesome, man. So let's dig into some of the social side of things. What is the average conversion ratio? I know you have somebody, like you mentioned, you have somebody who is pretty expert in this field, so we'll see if you can answer this, but I'm sure
yeah,
you can.
I know. That's the problem with being a co-founder and a founder. Sometimes the day-to-day stuff, good or bad, starts to get away from you. I still operate as our chief operating officer, so I do know a lot of the day-to-day things that go along, but Skylar would be amazing to answer this type of question. Yeah. And I also don't necessarily like average, because average can be really, really skewed. We have a campaign right now called Korihana. It's absolutely crushing, and I think it's the highest I've ever seen. I don't know exactly how good it is, but I think it's like 1 to 70 or something. So for every dollar we're spending, we're getting $70 in return or something. I mean, it's crazy. It's really, really good right now. I would have to dig into the numbers and see, but I remember glancing over our dashboards when I saw that a couple days ago. So the average is going to be skewed. I'll answer it this way. Funded Today usually takes 35% of pledges raised. So if we raise $1 million, you would pay us $350,000, and that includes everything. So all of our you don't pay anything other than that. And so if we raise that amount of money, obviously we have 35% to play with. So let's just make the numbers real easy. For every $1,000 raised, we need to be spending less than $350, right? Because $1,000 multiplied by 35% is 350. 350 less 350 is zero. That's our break even. So if we spend less than $350 for every 1,000 raised, we're happy. We don't necessarily need to make money. As long as we're making you money, it's okay, because we're going to get a trickle effect. We're going to get the trending, the popular, the magic, all the good things that Kickstarter and Indiegogo have. If we can raise you money, all of the organic and direct traffic on Kickstarter and Indiegogo is going to make up for the loss that we have, or the break even that we have on the paid media side of things. And we'll also make up for it in some of our more profitable divisions: press, earned media, cross collaborations, cross promotions, cashback, and influencer marketing. So those things will make up for the loss that we have in terms of paid media. Now, granted, sometimes paid media absolutely crushes it too. So that's how Funded Today was born, and it still is, I think, our second or third income source in terms of where we drive most traffic and pledges from.
Mm-hmm. Cool. No, that's a great answer to that, and I mean, just knowing what you have to do to at least break even, I think that that's the motivation. That's what's going to help continue to push through. So just having that number is good.
Applying that too, I guess, if you didn't hire Funded Today, or if you worked on your own, figure out what your margin is. Figure out how much it costs you to ship, build, distribute your product, and then you can probably spend all of that. You might want to give yourself a little buffer for mistakes, and miscues, and shipping delays and things like that. But you're going to get that positive externality generally. I mean, most of the time, if you are raising money on Kickstarter, and by raising money I mean you're raising money, it's not coming from Kickstarter, then Kickstarter will kick in and help you to raise money. Mm-hmm. And so it'll make up for the spend that you're doing. But you don't just want to spend money frivolously. Every single penny, literally, even though we spend millions of dollars, every single penny that Funded Today spend is tracked meticulously through all of our backend. And that's another one of our proprietary systems. We have a backend tracking that logs all the different types of links and down to the specific ad set for every single individual ad we're running. We're logging and tracking that to the penny every second.
Wow, that's amazing. So how do you determine which marketing channels to use and for the different campaigns, and what channel are most commonly used at this point?
Yeah, so I'll take this question in terms of a paid media aspect. So where can I spend money to make money? You don't really have a business if you can't spend money to make money. It's like business 101. If you're still relying on friends and family and referrals and things like that, it's not going to necessarily do it for you. So you have to figure out, how much can I spend? And if I spend that much, how much does it generate? Mm-hmm. So thinking like that, the answer is really simple. It's Facebook, Instagram. We've messed around with Twitter. It never seems to work. Everybody says the same thing. I don't know. Maybe if there's somebody out there who is killing it at Twitter, please contact us. I'd love to just chat and see what you do or how you do it. But I probably talked to 1,000 people, no joke. I mean, I'm a hustler networker, and nobody can make Twitter work. And I've spent, I think, hundreds of thousands of dollars now and never really made Twitter work. I don't know. Maybe it's just a broken platform. Maybe we just haven't figured it out right. It seems like it could be amazing, right? But it's not.
You would think. I feel like the algorithm, it's like one thing gets posted, it's just gone. It's within milliseconds. It's like, oh, why did I spend that money? So I don't know.
It could be that. Now, if Twitter charged less for their advertisers, it actually might be profitable, but they charge more because they're obviously still trying to make a profit and deal with investors, and I think that might be hurting them too. Mm-hmm. So maybe 5-6 years from now, maybe even quicker. Technology's fast. 2-3 years from now, Twitter will be good. But let's just focus on Facebook. That one's easy. And everybody, we get this too from clients sometimes. Like, wait, Facebook? That's all you're going to do is Facebook? And it's like, yes, Facebook has about 2 billion people on it out of the 7 billion people on the earth, or however many people there are now. And those are the people that have money too, because they're on Facebook. And literally, we live in the best day and age in the history of mankind. You can target people based upon so many amazing things. And if you can get things to work on Facebook, you're golden. If you can't, honestly, you might not have a good product. At least as it relates, we have the 7 Ps, and we'll talk about it, but platform's one of them, right? So platform being a rewards-based crowdfunding platform, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. If you have a product that fits on that platform, a good example of one that doesn't fit is a landscaping company. I always use this example. A landscaping company is not going to raise money for their new trucks and equipment and getting clientele on a crowdfunding platform. But if you go door to door, if you put up flyers, if you build signs, if you knock doors, if you talk to people, you're probably going to be able to build a decent business if your unique selling proposition is correct. So that's an example of something that doesn't work on crowdfunding. So if it works on crowdfunding, you need to get Facebook to work. Mm-hmm. If Facebook doesn't work, you don't have a good product. If Facebook does work, you do have a good product. And we call that product validation. And that's as simple as it goes. Product validation in mathematical terms is achieving statistical significance. Spending a certain amount of money such that you have a normalized distribution curve analyzing that distribution curve across a couple standard deviations, and then making extrapolations on that data such that if you were to spend $100,000, how much money would be raised and what would your ROI be? And that's what we do at Funded today. And if we can do that on Facebook and we make that projection right, we're always accurate. And people are like, no, you have to test it more. You have to figure it out. You only spent this. And it's like, well, I could only spend $500,000 and it would still return the same result. People don't understand that. And I think that's hard because people don't quite understand math and statistics, but that's what's so amazing about Facebook. It's a normalized distribution platform, and it tells you all the people and all their interests and all their targets. And if you target those people and if you get this return, it doesn't matter if you target 10,000 more of those type of people, the same return is going to exist. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you factor in click-through rate, CPMs, conversion, all the other things that you have to get right on your end. But of course, Funded Today is going to get those things right. And so therefore, the only thing left to do is achieve statistical significance.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to a guy the other day who said I forget, it was like 3 cents a day though, but he was just getting, thousands of people to opt into his, his thing. But I'm like, damn, like how the heck did you do that? But yeah, I mean, if you get the algorithms right and know who you're targeting and do it correctly, yeah, you're going to hit a home run on Facebook. Yep. So I think that's, it's clutch. So you guys do that. What is your framework for planning your social media advertising efforts?
So really short answer for this one, it's simply getting the assets, getting the images, getting what we need, and then testing out those images over what we call a due diligence period, product validation and due diligence. And that's anywhere from 5 to 10 days. Usually we say 1 to 7 days, but we usually can return a verdict within 5 to 10 days. And when we return that verdict, that's basically pass, fail, or somewhere in between, but generally pass or fail. And pass means, man, we're going to raise you a lot of money, $100,000 or more. Fail means you just don't have something that's going to work. And no matter how much we spend, it's not going to play out. And so our framework is to start small budgets, testing multiple different ad sets, excuse me, and then figuring out which ad set has the highest click-through rate, lowest CPM, and then scaling those ad sets and turning off those that do not work.
No, I think that's that's kind of interesting. How I didn't know that you guys do that, but that's pretty cool. How it says a lot to get that validation and what's going to work and what gets clicks and what doesn't. I mean, I still work on that every day for a side hustle project that I do, and I can't figure it the hell out. So
it just comes down to that. It is the grind. Like I say it time and time again. There's nothing magical about what Funded Today does. When we get a new client, I think we got 2 or 3 new ones today. It's exactly what I just described there.
Yeah.
The paid media manager assigns the account to a paid media specialist, and the paid media specialist reads all the copy, reads all the page, watches the video, grabs all the images, and starts to design what they think is going to be a good ad. And then they create multiple different versions of that, and then they begin to test it, generally on Facebook to start. And from there, they scale and turn off what works, scale up what does.
I love it, man. I love it. So let's talk about that, staying in the marketing world here. Like, how do you gain campaign through PR from major media outlets like TechCrunch, or now what's really big, and you mentioned it, is like the social influencer?
Yeah, and that's probably the best question to ask. Getting press from some of those major people, they get tired of hearing about crowdfunding campaigns because there's 5,000 of them a month on Kickstarter, another 4,000 or 5,000. So 10,000 people, I'd say probably at least 1,000 of those are pretty good hustlers, and they're going to be contacting all these journalists and trying to get them to write about them. So Tim Ferriss has a really good article on how to get press. We actually use a lot of that still. He wrote it, I think, it wasn't even him actually. It was somebody had on his blog to guest write it, but 6 or 7 years ago even, I don't know. It's pretty good, but one thing I would say is, number one, you're not going to get a lot of press up front, so crush your goal. If you have a goal of 10 grand, crush it. Crush it means hit that goal in 24 hours or less. Try to get to 100 grand as fast as you can. Anytime you have a milestone, that gives you a chance to go ahead and talk to a journalist. We had a $10,000 goal and we hit it in 5 hours.
Yeah.
Here's our product. Check it out. That's going to at least get someone to open and be like, oh, what is this? And maybe they'll write about you. The other thing you can do if you haven't hit your goal yet is what we call embargoed pre-launch tours. San Francisco and New York City are probably the 2 best places to do that, but line up meetings in San Francisco, New York City with all of those big journalists and say, hey, I've got a demo, I've got a product, I want to bring it to you. I'm going to be launching on June 15th at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. Can I come and meet with you and talk to you about this a week or two before? And in exchange for me meeting with you, sharing with you, will you do a review of my product, and will you agree to post that review the day I launch at this time? That's called an embargoed press, and that works pretty good. It has to be the right product. It has to be the right timing, but I really like that strategy. It's a little more expensive. It's a little more time-intensive, but that's the difference between somebody who wins and somebody who loses. Mm-hmm. Somebody who goes above and beyond sending an email or messaging someone on Twitter or Facebook. Those things are good, but imagine meeting these journalists face-to-face and line up back-to-back meetings in New York City and then flying across the coast to San Francisco the next day and doing the same thing. It's going to make a journalist remember you a lot better than an email. And then you can usually come back to them and get more and more people to write about you. When you do get press written about you, feature that press, boost that press on your Facebook page. That can work good. Post those images about your press on your campaign page. We were featured in TechCrunch. It creates a little bit of credibility and an element there. Now, in terms of social marketers, that influencer marketing is what we like to call it. Mm-hmm. That might be better than even reaching out to the big press nowadays, because here's a cool statistic. I compiled this because so many of Funded Today's clients are saying the same thing. How do I get press? How do I make it happen? If I could just get press, it's going to blow it up. First off, you're completely wrong. No, it won't.
Yep.
It just won't. Like, even if a good press place writes about you, it isn't necessarily going to raise you any money. And here's the cool stat. We went in and dug into the numbers. We have all the data on the history of crowdfunding. Every single second, we're compiling data and building it into our database. We know that out of $65 million of pledges that we analyzed, again, to kind of get that statistically significant sample size, we could have analyzed the billions of dollars, but we just chose $65 million because that was what we had access to from all of the Funded Today campaigns that we ran or something over this period of time. And we looked at it, and of what we could find for press, so we looked for New York Times, Wall Street Journal, TechCrunch, Gizmodo, tons of places like that, right? We looked at it all. We analyzed all the data. And of the $65 million, only 4% of that $65 million came from press. Let's say press doesn't track very well. Let's double it. 8%. We'll give it the benefit of the doubt. And we'll say press has positive externalities. If somebody sees a press article, they're like, oh, I saw it in the Wall Street Journal. And then they go buy it somewhere else so it tracks differently. Let's give the benefit of the doubt to that. And let's call it 8%. Are you really going to spend 90% of your time to generate 8% of your pledges? That goes completely against 80-20, and 80-20 is a core principle of Funded Today. What can I spend 20% of my time doing to generate 80% of my results? And press is simply not that.
That's a pretty intense statistic right there. I guess I didn't realize. Yeah, it's like
a lot of people didn't. We didn't either, actually. But we decided once and for all, let's see if press makes sense. And that's why at Funded Today, we have a press team, but it's very small, it's very lean, and they focus on what I just talked about. Mm-hmm. We want to do the pre-embargo tours for pre-launch. We only reach out for press once we have passed the due diligence period, meaning we've figured out that we can raise money for this project on our own, so we're not relying on press, because it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And again, there's the outliers. You might find a client of mine that says, no, you got to get press because press is what does it for our product. And that might be true, but do I want to focus on the outliers, or do I don't want to look at statistically significant data? Of course, I want to help everybody, but we just don't want to take that risk with human capital with press when we know it's only going to work 1 out of 100 times based upon the numbers.
Yep. You're such a you guys have so much data at this point. That could be a data play. You guys just know so much that it's like statistically this isn't going to work. And I think that's another reason why you guys have been just so successful, even in the later years, because you just have done so many of these.
And don't get me wrong, I feel like I'm an empathetic human being. My wife might not tell you otherwise, but she always wants a little more love. But we care about the numbers so much because my belief is if you get your numbers right, your people are going to be happy. If your people are happy, your clients are going to be happy. So I want every project we work with to succeed. I really do. I don't want to feel like anybody got screwed over work with Funded Today. I don't want to feel like we didn't do our best effort for every single campaign. But my body of work speaks for what we do. Mm-hmm. Everybody at Funded Today, what we've done speaks for it. If your project doesn't raise money, it's not because we didn't want it to. And we're extremely heavily incentivized to raise you as much money as we possibly can. So when we can't raise you money, we're just as devastated as you are, but we realize it's because your product is probably not a good fit and it is missing those 7 Ps.
Yeah. Before we get into the 7 Ps, just this may be a short answer, is like, with Kickstarter, Indiegogo, I mean, maybe those are the two big ones, but there's other crowdfunding, platforms and things, How do you know which one to go for when you first get a product, or do most people come to you when they've already been on, one of those platforms?
It's about 70-30 now because of our pre-launch work that we do where we create videos and design pages. But originally, almost everybody was already on a platform, and so we just worked with them on the platform they were on. There's a lot of evidence, statistically speaking, that Kickstarter is a better platform to work on. So usually that's where we want to go. Indiegogo treats us so nice. So Kickstarter is more, they just treat us nice, and they're like, they don't really show any love. Indiegogo kind of does a lot more hand-holding and a lot more love. But despite all that, Kickstarter usually is the best place to launch if you have a choice. I would recommend launching on Kickstarter, having a successful campaign. If you have a successful campaign, Kickstarter doesn't have anything to do after your campaign's over. And so you can go to Indiegogo and do in-demand funding, which is really cool. Raise money on Kickstarter, continue to raise money on in-demand while you're working on fulfillment and distribution. It's an easy way to make more money. And if you are successful on Kickstarter, Indiegogo will show you a lot of love on their platform and send you emails and newsletters and things like that can raise you a lot more money. We've had some clients, Spine Gym, we raised 400-something thousand on Kickstarter. I think they're like 1.2 million. So we've raised them double on Indiegogo than we did on Kickstarter, just on in-demand. Granted, it was over a longer period of time, but it's nice to be able to raise $800,000 while you're still
building,
needing money to build.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. So now let's get into the 7 P's of for crowdfunding success. Which ones do you need? Do you need them all? I mean, can you get rid of some of them? Or, run through this list. And I know you have a product and a video series on this, so you can kind of plug that in as we go.
Okay, yeah.
And we'll try to filter some people that way because it would be helpful for them to see. But kind of go through those, you can just go through high level.
Yeah, I spoke at the Canadian Crowdfinance and Crowdfunding Summit. It's like Canada's main crowdfunding summit. It's pretty cool. Plug for that event if you're in Canada or if you want to go to that. I thought it was a really well done event. And then I just got done speaking at Utah's crowdfunding. I think it was called the Utah Crowdfunding Summit 2017 or something. But I gave a similar presentation at both, and each presentation was about 30 to 45 minutes long. Our 7 Ps are pretty simple: product, platform. I talked about platform a little bit. Mm-hmm. Presentation, promotion. That's 4. Price 5, probability 6, and people 7. In terms of what's most important, one of my favorite examples is Shopbox 2.0. Shopbox 2.0 was created by a man named Aaron Johnson. He's actually out of Utah, which is where I'm from. And he came to us with a product that, well, let me first tell you what Shopbox 2.0 is. Shopbox 2.0 is a box where you put a product in. So here's a phone case. You would put this phone case in the box and then use your camera to take pictures of it. And it makes it so you can take high quality, really nice pictures that you can then use to showcase your product on your website or Amazon or on your Kickstarter. And funny enough, Shopbox 2.0 didn't look very good. The presentation was absolutely horrible, and they'd raised like $6,000 or $7,000. Their goal was, I think, $20,000 or $50,000, somewhere around there. They weren't going to hit their goal. We canceled their product immediately. My business partner, Thomas Alvord, to his credit, looked at the video, looked at the page, and said, "You got to be kidding me. This is an amazing product. It really is." Our creative director and creative team uses it now to do all of our product shots. That's how good it was. But it wasn't presented in the right way. So product, presentation, platform, right? On the presentation side of things, P number 3, it wasn't working right. And so what we did is we canceled the campaign. We literally said goodbye to the $8,000 in funding, and we redid the video, redid the page, cleaned up the reward structure, and launched again. And we raised $184,000 in like a 3-week turnaround.
Wow.
And here's the best part about this story. And I posted this on social media actually a couple weeks ago. Not only did he raise $184,000, a month or 2 after that, maybe it was 3 or 4 months after that. My time is always confusing in the internet. But he just got done being on HSN, and I believe QVC as well.
Oh, wow.
And it was awesome. He must have raised a ton of money on there because he did a great job talking about his product, and he had like a 5 or 6 minute spot on there just talking about his product with, like, he was on TV talking prime time. Pretty cool. And I think they're having him back again. This guy's had some amazing success from something that was a complete failure. So in terms of what P is most important, kind of getting to the point here, I forgot to tell you. So when we ran his campaign, I said, to Thomas Alvord's credit, We ran it first as is. We didn't change anything because this guy came to us on Kickstarter. He was a client who was already raising money, struggling, wasn't going to hit his goal. Hires funded today. We run all of our marketing. We run P number 4, promotion, which is all we thought we needed to do. Didn't work.
Yeah.
Cleaned up the presentation, P number 3, relaunched, did the exact same promotion, literally not changed a thing. We even turned on the same ads we tested the first time, and everything converted better. So obviously presentation is more important than promotion. That was a cool learning point that we learned in our 7P analysis.
Yeah, that's crazy. Unbelievable how one little thing, I mean, tweak it a little bit, and next thing you know, it's like it's successful. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly, and that's kind of why the 7Ps are all inclusive. If one of your Ps is off, you're not going to raise any money. You need all of them to work.
So it's like a golf swing, man.
There you go.
If it's off by a
shot.
Yeah, if it's off by a hair, it's not going in. So
yep,
yeah,
exactly right.
Interesting. So can you debunk a couple myths about crowdfunding and that people normally say, like, oh, it doesn't work, or I don't know, maybe there's others, but what are some of the
that's a good one. Which ones have you heard? Have you heard some more? I want to hear some of the ones you've heard, so I don't say examples that might have been said again, but I'll address that one for sure.
I mean, I think that's probably the biggest one. I think that another one is like, oh, there's already too many things out there that, like let's say somebody came on with a product, I don't know, an adult coloring book, but they're like, oh, there's already like 20 of those on there, like it won't work for me, so why should I even do that? That's what I've heard most.
I like that a lot, yeah. Okay. All right, so point number 1, it doesn't work. I mean, strictly speaking, if you don't do anything that we've talked about over this entire interview, you're right. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I mean, the numbers are there. I think, is it 80 or 70%? You could probably check on, if you go to Kickstarter. I guess I can do this. Let's go to Kickstarter.com/stats, I believe. Nope, it's not that page. Let me check it here. Just find Kickstarter stats, and I'll tell you like the exact numbers up to the date.
Awesome.
Kickstarter stats. Oh, it's /help/stats. Successfully funded, unsuccessfully funded. 81. 225,900 products never even got funded.
Wow, that's
225,000 out of. There's the number. Successfully funded. So was that the total? Okay. 126,151 were successfully funded.
Okay.
I have all these numbers in like a more beautiful format, but if we add up 126,151 plus 225,900, so 352,000, and divide that by 225,900 divided by 325,000. 70%, yeah, 69.4%. So 70%, I was right on. 70% of projects don't get funded. So I would say, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's not. You really have a very low chance of getting funded. We have this graph called the probability of raising X on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and we can link out to that too. But
yeah,
if you raise, here are some assumptions we made on the data. If your campaign raises $50,000 on Kickstarter, you have a very good campaign. You're in the top 3% of all Kickstarter campaigns in the history of Kickstarter. If your campaign raises $100,000 on Kickstarter, you have a very good campaign. That's the top 1% of all Kickstarter. If your campaign raises $250,000 or more on Kickstarter, you have a very, very good campaign. Top 0.4% of all Kickstarter campaigns. The average raise on Kickstarter, $9,308. Average Indiegogo raise, $4,056.
So yeah.
Not as high as people think, right? Everybody sees funded today $132 million. Holy cow. We have more $1 million campaigns than any other company in the world, but it's hard to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people say in business, what's the hard thing that you're doing? Well, you guys are doing the hard thing.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is. So that I don't know if that helps to answer. It is hard. Now, if you do everything we talked about, you have a much better chance of being successful. I like your other one you brought up. It's already been done before.
Yeah.
Well, then is that really your good idea? My question to these people would be, well, what's your unique selling proposition? If you have a talent, it's so good, but it's not going to work because then it must not be a good idea, right? I love our creators. I hardly ever run into a creator on crowdfunding that I talk to that doesn't think they have the best idea ever. And sometimes I'm just shaking my head, even though I don't want to, because I'm like, Dad, it's not a good idea. I think it's not, I try to not do that anymore because sometimes I'm freaking wrong. I'm completely wrong. Spine Gym, I was completely wrong. Look at that project if you want to see. It's amazing what we did for that guy. Because we don't go, and that's the good part. I'm glad I don't go into these things emotionally. Because if I went into them emotionally, I might screw up our results. Because I would be more excited about something and less excited about another. But regardless of how I personally feel, we're going to treat your project the exact same and run it through our system and achieve the statistical significance during the product validation period to figure out if it works or not. And that gives you the best chance of succeeding. So first off, believe in your product. If you don't believe in your product, it's not going to work because that's just human nature 101. Right, so if you have a towel, and there's been 100 towels on Kickstarter, or adult coloring book, we'll use that example since you used it. Well, what makes your adult coloring book different? What makes it better than the ones that are on there? Here's a strategy. Go on and watch all the videos of all the adult coloring books that have ever been on Kickstarter. What made those ones good? Could you do more of the same? What do all the comments say? If you go to Kickstarter on any particular project, you can scroll down just a slight little scroll, and you can click on the comments. It's campaign, FAQ, updates, comments. It's the 4th tab. Right in the middle, right below the video generally. Read all the comments. Read what everybody's saying and figure out what they like, what they don't like, and then build more of the same of what they like and change the things they don't like, and then address those points in your unique selling proposition, in your video and in your page. And that will give you a better chance of succeeding because now you're resonating with that audience that wants to hear about what you're creating. So I don't know if that helps to answer some of that.
No, I think that's actually just the most blunt answer, easiest kind of thing that probably people don't think about doing. It sounds so simple, though. It's like, go look at your competitors, find out see what people say about them, what they like about them, what they don't like about them, and then go build that.
and here's what's so awesome, and I guess maybe it's a downside and a benefit of crowdfunding. You can analyze everything. Yeah. Like, it's so transparent. What I just did, if I go to Korehana Knife, I see 1,508 backers. I see the average backer is pledging this much. That data alone tells me, okay, wow, that if I want to raise this much money and get this many people, here's what I need to do. There's a community tab. Community tab is right next to the comments tab. I can see 75 backers are from London, 533 are from the United States, 158 are from the United Kingdom, 167 new backers. So that means people that have never backed on Kickstarter before. 1,350 returning backers. Oh, wow. The people on Kickstarter really like this project. But people who've never heard of Kickstarter are either not being targeted yet on this knife or they don't like it. So I need to make sure my product resonates with the people that are organic on Kickstarter's platform. Here are some of the people. This guy's back 31. This guy's back 457. This guy's back 5. Okay, yep, it's right. All these people. Well, let's click on this guy's name. Oh, what project is he backing? Oh, he's backing this and this and this. Oh, interesting. I mean, honestly, do some freaking work. You'll figure it out,
I love it, man. I love it. Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, because of time, I'm going to kind of skip to a couple more here. Okay. Can you talk about that pivoting side of things? You brought it up. It was one of your kind of main things that you do really well. Now you guys do, video. You're starting to build the e-commerce websites. When did you realize you kind of need to make that change? And as the leader of your company, how'd you get your team behind you to say, guys, the things are changing. We got to start moving in this direction. Talk about that leadership and kind of how you did some of that pivoting.
Yeah, so obviously Funded Today wants to be cutting edge. It's one of our core values. We have 9 core values. One of them is we are the crowdfunding experts. If we're going to believe that, we have to make sure that we stay that way. Mm-hmm. And so we're always learning. We're always reading. I have got 100 Google alerts for all kinds of different things so that I can hear about any research or any study or anything that ever comes out. And we try to encourage everybody else at Funded Today to be the same way. So a good example of a pivot that we did was with video. Not in terms of us creating video, but in us using video in some of our paid media division. Mm-hmm. We saw that it was starting to take off. You see those like viral videos, Viral Nova. I think BuzzFeed or something's worth $1 billion. There's companies that are doing all kinds of stuff to do crazy. Well, we decided, why don't we make these sorts of videos for our clients? And we tested it. It actually didn't work very well. And then we tested again. I think after a couple months, we finally got something that was working, like a 28% click-through rate, crazy amount of views, and way cheap CPM. And we're like, holy cow, it works. And throughout that process, we were documenting what worked, what didn't work, how to build it. And now pretty much every single time we make a video, for those 10 to 30 second videos that we make for viralness, we have a system, a proprietary strategy for how we do it, but they do extremely well. That was something we added to the paid media that wasn't even there 3 or 4 months ago. It's a brand new thing.
Oh, wow.
And it's helped us a ton. It's helped us get way more exposure. And I think by getting more exposure, more clicks to the website, it helps to increase Kickstarter's magic algorithm. And magic means that you rank higher, and if you rank higher, Kickstarter shows you more love. And of course, those videos are generating more pledges for us too, because they really put these projects in a great light and make them seem really cool. We highlight all the benefits. We make it seem really You've seen those videos. Mm-hmm. Chances are it's probably one of ours. And then we try to get those videos featured on all those viral sites. So we use the PR and earned media division. We say, take this video and give it to Viral Nova, give it to BuzzFeed, give it to all these places. And then they write about it. Curiosity.com just did a feature on Werenbach watches. They took all of our assets and they made some stuff, and it generated like $15,000 in pledges. So all these little things can be added and combined within the different divisions that funded today to raise money. And then the other pivot we did was, hey, we're doing all this marketing, we're doing all this money. Why don't we get earlier on in the funnel? How do we get to clients earlier? How do we make it so our competition doesn't even hear about them? Well, let's create videos. Let's make our clients videos. In fact, the Aaron Johnson video was a great example of that, because our creative team was the one that did all the editing and all the fixing and redid the video on that project. And that kind of led us to believe, man, we're the experts on this too, even though we don't really make videos, so let's start making videos. And it's worked out really well. Our videos are amazing. Sometimes I think, I'm like, we made that? Dang. We've invested a lot of money into it. We have the nicest equipment, nicest lighting, nicest sound, and I think that helps because a traditional crowdfunder has their iPhone.
Yeah.
So it's helped us, but it's amazing to see the progress that we've made as we apply all those P's to our crowdfunding success. So maybe that's 2 good examples of some pivots.
Yeah, no, that's great. And just like a quick follow-up on that, like when you knew you had to start making video, or like, these amazing viral videos, did you go out and find an expert in that field? Like, did you consult people at first? Like, how did you find the best people to create these types of videos? Because, I'm assuming you weren't a video expert, but yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
No, I wish I were. I feel like I can kind of see what's good in the video and make some comments and changes, which is good managerial, but to do it all, no, definitely not me. Scott Weiser, he has experience working for DreamWorks Studio, Pixar. He was recently working at a studio in Canada. What part of Canada? I have to ask him. I forget. We brought him on.
Wow.
He quit his job up there, came to Utah, worked with us full time, and Scott is amazing. Really, Scott Weiser is an amazing. Shout out to Scott. It's so nice to have somebody that talented. He's had experience working with, $100 million videos, and he did like Alvin and the Chipmunks 3D, crazy stuff like that. He's been one of the lead animators on, and he's got years and years of experience. I think he's 30 something now, and bringing all that experience with him to fund it today, and then coupled with my marketing background and Thomas's knowledge, has just let Scott grow in leaps and bounds. And Scott has been able to take all of that, his experience and his leverage, and then the brand name of Funded Today, and really we attract. I guess that's one thing I've taken for granted. Apparently some companies have a hard time like getting people to want to work for them. Ours, it's like I get 100 resumes a week, and it's like, oh, okay. So I just send those resumes to Scott, and Scott looks at them and determines who he likes and who he doesn't. And we've got a pretty dang good team now of 4 or 5 videographers, 3 or 4 page designers, and then Scott managing that division, and it's worked out really well.
That's awesome. I love that. All right, last couple questions here because of time. What are 3 core skills you think all entrepreneurs need?
Good question. I was trying to think about this one, for a little bit, figure out how best to answer it. 3. I would say
doesn't have to be 3.
Yeah.
Come up with your top that come to your head.
No, for sure. In no particular order. My answer, I guess, has changed a lot too, because I was the serial entrepreneur. I was the guy just building the business, doing everything. And now I feel like I'm alone. Like my company runs itself. All the people and places and systems and things I put in place are different. So my type of skill now, so I guess if you want to build a business like Funded today that multiple 8 figures a year, skill number 1 is learning to let go. Build your business such that you don't have to be involved, and hire the right people, pay them well, train them well, never completely let go of the business. Just like I gave you an example of a small little process I fixed a couple days ago. Care about those things, look at the numbers, monitor it, but learn to trust other people. It sucks, it's hard, they always do things that piss you off, but they also do a lot of things that you're like, dang, that wasn't me, and they did it better than I could do. And when you see those things, it kind of, I call it like the chill moment, you know, you get the goosebumps, and you're like, holy cow, my baby is all grown up. So that would be skill number 1 for sure, learning to let go. It's hard even now because I could remove myself even further by hiring a chief operating officer. And sometimes I'm like, do I want to do that? Do I not? Funded today probably is at a position where it might make sense to do that, but then I'm gone. Like I wouldn't do anything at Funded today. So it's part of me is like, I kind of like it still. I kind of feel like I'm doing good in that role, and there's a lot more fun things to do, and I want to continue to improve a few more things, and I'm like that. But at the same time, maybe I need to let go so that I can do even something bigger and bigger than that. So it's a huge question I have been wavering with for like 2 months now.
Wow. Yeah.
We've got people ready to be hired for. I think we've interviewed 10 or 11 people. So as soon as we pull the trigger, I would let go even further. So letting go is hard, even now. I've let go as much as I have. Thomas has let go as much as he has. He's better letting go than I am. But it's just that way. Skill number 2, positive attitude. I talked about it earlier. If you don't have a positive attitude, man, it carries over. I think really you have to be the cheerleader if you're going to be the entrepreneur. Even if things suck, dude, it's amazing. Yeah, this guy got pissed at us, but look at what came of it. Like, turn every single thing positive. Because as soon as you get down or pissed, holy cow, that can go across the whole organization. And you really have to focus on it because it's easy to get pissed off. I see 50 things a day that piss me off. And we have a great company. Personally, I think we have one of the best companies in America. But I still get so sad and frustrated, and I have to convince myself, don't get sad, don't get frustrated. Use this as an opportunity to make what you have even better. And the way I do that is I assume the positive. It's another core value of Funded today. Simple, stupid. It actually works, though. And I've seen it change in my organization over the last couple months as we've really focused on that core value. People that were once extremely negative, I can't even find anything negative about them. And I know it's because of my attitude and the way I've kept preaching it and saying it. And suddenly it has changed. So even if you have a crappy organization, you can improve it if you yourself get positive. And then don't just get positive, take the action. If people are complaining, chances are they care. That's me assuming the positive. You could be like, oh, they're complaining, they're stupid, fire them. No, they're complaining because they care. They haven't left your organization yet, so make it better for them. And figure out why they're complaining. Show them that you're taking action on those things and making it better and better for them. And if you do that, you'll have a better organization that will improve. And let's just leave it at those two. Those two are great. If I could do it all again, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. I like what LeBron James said last night when he lost to the... I love the way LeBron James does interviews. I mean, he's playing amazing, and they're still down 3-0. They should have won last night. But
I'm from Cleveland, so I know.
Oh, okay.
It's rough.
Yeah. Nothing to be sad about. That's the best team in the history of the NBA that they're playing against.
Yeah.
But I like how he answered it. He said he never likes to look back because all you can really do is look forward. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's good advice. If you look back, you create depression. I've talked about that a lot in this interview. I'm not depressed, I promise. I'm actually pretty happy. But if you look back, you get depressed sometimes because you can't change anything, really. Mm-hmm. So maybe don't look back, as terrible of advice as that is. And now if I do want to say look back, I should have been more aggressive. I should have let go faster. I should have attacked the markets quicker. I should have been even more quick to hire and grow and grow and grow, you know? I could have done all those things, but at the same time, maybe doing what I did helped me build the processes right so that when I did hire, there was less crappiness in that transition of letting go. So you get the best of both worlds. You know, you can't have them both. I would say follow LeBron James' advice. He's the best player in like the history of the NBA, maybe with the exception of Michael Jordan. Yeah. And look at the way he thinks about things. He played an amazing game, and they're like, well, what could you do differently? If you could have done that, he's like, well, I would have made that baseline jumper. He's like, no, I don't want to even think about that stuff. He's like, don't worry about what happened before. Go forward and, you know, just you learn from it, but Don't keep thinking, oh man, I could have. I mean, the Warriors are the same way. Kyrie Irving hit that big shot on him last year that sealed Game 7. He took that same shot last night.
Yep.
And missed it. And everybody's like, Kyrie, why'd you take that shot? He's like, do y'all remember last year? That's the shot I won it for. It's like, it's not a bad shot. I make it a lot of times. So don't think about all your times you could have done something differently, because it's just going to make you sad. Think about what you can do differently going forward, and don't worry about it. Have a positive attitude.
I love it, man. Well, Zach, I appreciate you, man. This is great stuff. Like, everyone, if you're getting into any type of crowdfunding, you need to check out Funded today. It's something that, I mean, if it's a good idea and has the P's and has all the good things to it, then yes, you should definitely seek them out to help you grow faster, because they are the best. So appreciate you, man. And I mean, I didn't know you were a solopreneur to basically building this amazing company. Congrats to you, bro. That's awesome. You're a great entrepreneur, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Really glad to be here.